Okay, so good afternoon everybody. I hope that you remember what was done in the last class. So can we have a quick recap of the last class? What did we do in the last class? Yes, you can speak up if you want. So we saw what is cyber security, network security principles, and some attacks, some types of attacks. And where did we end our slides with? Yeah, so we just wanted to know that, how to, so some security principles we had. The last module was security principles, okay? CIA, AAA and IKE, PKIs. Now, today we are going to start with security at different layers of the TCP/IP layer, okay? Now, so this is how it looks like, the protocol stack, okay? So, anybody who is unaware of this protocol stack? Everybody is aware of this protocol stack? Yes? Okay, so what is the task of application layer? Nothing?
Interact with the user.
Yes. Okay, so to provide, services related to applications, okay? And then the next one, transport layer, process to process communication, right? So that's about transport layer. And then network layer has already come up. So network layer is basically, helps you to communicate between two hosts in the network, any two hosts in the network. And the last one is, the link, I think the K went down, okay, that's the link layer. Okay, so link layer is responsible for, what is the task of link layer applications, link layer protocols? Data transfer between neighboring network elements. So it's not about one host to another host. It is like you need to find out that, scheduling, which route will you use, okay? So it is like this. So suppose there is a common channel, so now who will schedule at what time, okay? Scheduling decisions, these are being taken at the link layer protocols. Then finally comes the physical layer, okay? Now why are we looking at this, okay? All right, so physical layer is basically bits, of stream of bits moving on in the medium that you are sending the data. Okay, so application layer protocols are there, transport layer, network layer, link layer, and finally physical layer, okay? So where should we provide the security? That is the question, okay? So I told in the last class that, now the researchers are actually catching up to what already the standards and protocols have been made, okay? People are catching up to it, all right? So if I have to make a very good security protocol, okay, where should I put that security protocol in my stack? Okay, that is the question. So can anybody suggest anything? Should I make, yeah? Just at the application layer.
And of course, at all the levels, we can provide including these things.
Okay, so you are saying all the layers, right? If I have to summarize what you are saying, why?
Mainly people look at 3 layers because if we are passing through routers and all different
So, bottom up 3 layers or top down 3 layers? Which one do you want? Bottom up. So only file link and network. Only up to network layer. You want security and no security needed in transport and application layer. Okay, so that's one suggestion from your side. Anybody else?
In each layer.
Why?
Attacker can go to any and also if you have transferred packets, it will from starting from physical layer it starts frames, sessions, and then hypertext headers. It can be saved.
Okay, that's also one answer. But then that's a lot of task, right? Okay. So that is also something. So if we can provide a blanket security, that will be great, right? But we have to see whether we can actually do something like that or not. Okay. So yeah, so which one is good? A blanket security, that means you provide your security protocols in a particular layer so that it gives you a blanket security like he just told. Okay. And whether I should provide it in all layers. Okay. So now if I am providing a blanket security, the problem will be that I am not getting any user level security in the upper layers, right? And if I am providing in all layers, the good thing that I am getting is that, if you want to add new internet services, it will be easier to provide the security even at the higher layers. Okay, so some pros and cons we have got to know by now. In this class today, we will get to know that some of the common security protocols that are used in transport layer, network layer, okay, and some operational security protocols, okay, and also one application layer protocol also we will see, okay. So now let's start with the first application that we have, that is email. Okay, I think I've double clicked. Yeah. So email is the application. First application is email as an application. Okay. Now, if you remember yesterday's class, we had an example of Alice and Bob. Okay, they want to talk to each other. So here, Alice and Bob, they are communicating using email. Okay. Now, how can I provide the three objectives that we had studied yesterday? That is CIA, confidentiality, integrity, and accessibility. Okay. So confidentiality. Okay, so first thing, if I want to send a confidential email, okay, so what can I do? So here if you can see, Alice, the message is denoted by M. Okay, so what does Alice do? Alice generates a random symmetric session key, okay, called as KS, okay, and uses that to encrypt the message. Okay, so that's KS of M that is created. Alright. Now next is that Bob has already advertised its public key. Okay, so Alice knows about Bob's public key. Now using Bob's public key, Alice encrypts KS, the session key that was generated. Okay. Now what Alice does? She sends them both over the internet to Bob. Alright. So this is from Alice's side. Now next is at Bob's side, how will Bob get the message? Okay, so what Bob does? Bob will use his private key to decrypt the KS part, the session key, and then he will use that session key to get the actual message that was sent by Alice. Okay. Now this is how confidentiality of the email can be maintained, confidentiality of the email message that was sent by Alice. But only confidentiality is not going to suffice. So we need to have integrity and access, right? Okay, so how to do that? Okay, so now here we are going to put message integrity and authentication. How to do that? So what Alice will do is, Alice will digitally sign a hash of her message. Okay, so you can see this key sign that you are there, that you can see here. Yeah? That key is her private, Alice's private key. Okay, so it will digitally sign a hash of her message with her private key. Okay, that will provide the integrity and authentication. Okay, and then the actual message also she will send. Okay, so she is sending the hash of her message with by encrypting with her private key. Then the message that she is actually sending both of them she is sending over the medium. This is thinking that there is no breach of confidentiality. Okay, so she is sending and then it is reaching Bob's site. Okay, at Bob's end, what Bob will do? Bob has, Alice's public key. Okay, that is denoted by KA plus. Okay, so he has her public key and then he gets the hashed message from there. He decrypts using that. And the message was already sent by Alice. So that message also he creates a hash and then compares both of them. If both of them are same, then great. Okay. So this is how integrity and authentication is maintained. Okay. Now I have to ensure all of these together when I am sending an email. So what do I have to do? I have to combine all of these things together. Okay. So what do I exactly do when it comes to confidentiality, message integrity and authentication? Okay. So first is, for message integrity and authentication, I will be using the hashing method. I will hash the message and then encrypt it using Alice's private key and send the actual message also together. Now this entire message together, okay, what am I doing? Okay, I have the session key generated by Alice. So that session key is used to encrypt this entire message. Okay, then Bob's public key is there. With Bob's public key, I am encrypting the KS, that is the session key, and then combined together I am sending it to Bob's site. Okay, now you tell me what will happen at Bob's site. Both we have studied, right? We just got to know that if, so Bob has what? What will Bob do?
Bob will first decode it and decrypt it using his private key.
Yes.
And then it will compare. He will get a message that is and hash also. So he will compare both of them.
Yeah. So first he has to get this session key, right? So first he will try to get the session key. Okay, with his own private key. So he gets the session key with his private key. Then with that session key he gets this combined message. Okay. Then he creates the hash and then compares to find out what was exactly there in the email message. Okay. So this is all the steps that goes on when you are sending an email message. Okay. Any questions here? No questions? All right. Okay, I'll go to the next slide. Okay, so anybody has heard of this protocol, TLS? Yes, tell me, what is TLS?
So mostly we use it for our email.
Okay. That's it. Okay, first, anybody else?
HTTPS uses this.
HTTPS uses it. Very good. And anything else? The name says something.
It's at the transport layer.
It provides transport layer security, but actually TLS is not in the transport layer. Okay, it's in the application layer. Okay. All right. So we will now look at TLS. Okay. So it is a widely used security protocol. Okay, for transport layer protocol. Now, as you rightly said, used in HTTPS, what it provides? It has to provide the three objectives. Okay, so how does it provide confidentiality? Via symmetric key encryption. How does it provide integrity? Via cryptographic hashing. And how does it provide authentication? Is via public key cryptography. Okay, so in this class, because it is a very small session, okay, I want to go through the overview of it. Okay, I don't want to get too much into encryption because I want to show the network layer part, the network security part more. So I will just get into this part first. What exactly happens in TLS? Okay, so first is handshake. Okay, so what happens in handshake? Alice and Bob, they will use their certificates and private keys, etc., and they will exchange. Okay, okay. Any shared secret material that needs to be exchanged, that is done during handshaking. Okay. Then what will happen? Key derivation will happen. Okay. So what will they do? They will derive a set of keys. Okay, using the shared secret that they have just shared using handshake. After that only data transfer can happen. It can be as a stream data transfer. Okay, instead of just one time transaction, it can be a stream of data transfer that can happen. And most importantly, after everything is done, you have to close the connection. Okay, so the last step is connection closure. Okay, so how do we do that? Once everything is done from the client side, there will be a connection closure message that will go. Okay. All right. So this is how TLS provides an API that any application can use. Okay. So see, if you want to put HTTP with TLS, okay. So HTTP2 over TCP looks like this, no TLS. Next one, you have TLS with it. So as you were telling, as I was telling you that it is a transport layer protocol, but it actually does not reside there. So you have HTTP2, then TLS, and then TCP IP. And anybody knows about Quick? Have you heard of Quick? You can Google if you want to. I'll give you time. Sorry? UDP security. Just that. You are there, but you might just Google it a little bit.
It reduces latency.
What is it? That is a property of it, but what is it exactly?
Similar to HTTPS, but it is used over UDP for transport layers.
Yes, it is used for over UDP for transport layer security. Okay. So yeah, any other thing that you want?
Google says that it reduces round trips required to establish a connection, so it reduces.
So that's reduces latency, you have already told. Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Anybody else? So it is a homework question for all of you. Okay. So for a video streaming application, my question is you can just go back and see that whether I should use a simple TCP and TLS combination, or I can use Quick. Okay, just see that which one should be better in that case. Think about it, okay, and then tomorrow we can answer this question. Okay. All right, let's move forward. So how does a TLS handshake look like? So first thing is that, as I told, that in the handshake phase, they will send and receive the information regarding different certificates, okay, the agreements, etc. Okay, so DH is here Diffie-Hellman. Okay, so that's a key agreement protocol. So what the client side does is, whatever cipher suits, protocols, algorithms it supports, okay, it will tell the server that these are the choices. Okay, what server is going to do? It is going to choose from that. Okay, so that's the next step. Okay, selected cipher suite, then DH key agreement protocol parameters and all. Okay, so server will say that okay, these are what my agreements I can do. Once that is done, then the client will check the server certificate, generate the key, and then now after that you can communicate. Okay. So this is how a TLS handshake will work. Okay, so basically, if you see, what I am going to do is that I will just give a very brief and quick overview of different protocols which are used in the different layers. Okay, and we'll do up to network layer. Okay. All right. Now let's get to this part, that is network layer security. Okay. Now, has anybody heard of IPsec? No one?
I've heard of it, but I don't really know it.
Where have you heard of it from?
During class.
Okay, all right. Okay, so it is already given that it secures IP datagrams between any two network layer entities. Okay, so now my question is that if I am securing datagrams, okay, so what I can do is datagram is secured, okay. I don't need any other much of security, because lower layers some security anyways is provided, okay. But up to network layer, if I am providing that, okay, this kind of a blanket security, will it be very good, or I should still go with providing security of all layers? I am providing security over the datagrams itself, okay. I am securing the IP datagram. So do I need any further on each and every layer?
Like it would be better if they have security in all the layers. But using
Even physical layer, I mean, if somebody just opens your connection.
That is something different. That is, you are doing it purposely. Yeah. But yeah, what you were saying, please continue.
But like if we use and if we encrypt the datagram, then it would be fine for the communication at least.
So it provides a blanket security over it, right? Acha. Okay. Anybody else has any other answer? No other answers? Okay, so we will move forward in that case. So yes, IPsec is a network layer security protocol, and it provides security over the entire datagrams that you are transferring between two entities, any two entities on the network with which you are communicating, okay. And it also provides the CIA, okay. So we will see how it provides the CIA. Now here if you see, it is written that it works in two modes. One is transport mode and another is the tunnel mode, okay. So I am assuming that most of you are from computer science background a little bit, okay. So has anybody heard of the word tunneling before? So you are nodding, you are saying tunneling. So what does tunneling do?
You connect to an external network I'm not sure of the exact definition, but it helps you connect from an internal network to an external network through some host.
Okay.
You can share resources that are there in an internal network with some external host.
Yeah, I understood. Okay, anybody else?
Tunneling, basically they hide the IP address and then they provide a wrapper around it, and then we are able to access the external networks.
Yes. Where have you, where is the exact usage of it? Where have you seen it? VPN, definitely. And anything else?
SSH?
Okay, to some extent, okay. Has anybody heard of IP address translations? So if you have, IPv4 and IPv6 being used in your, entire network, okay, how do you ensure that, you don't know which one is using IPv4, which one is using IPv6? So are you just not going to communicate? So at that time you create tunnels and then you transmit your data, okay. So you can just go back and check in that case for IP address translation. Okay. Now let's get to the transport and tunnel modes. Okay, so what happens in the transport mode? In the transport mode, only the datagram payload, okay, that is encrypted. Okay. Whereas what happens in case of my tunnel mode? Okay, in that case the entire datagram is encrypted and authenticated. Okay, so these are the two differences in transport and tunnel mode. We will be focusing on the tunnel mode because here we assume that the entire datagram is being encrypted. Okay, so what happens to this encrypted datagram? This encrypted datagram will be encapsulated in another datagram with a new IP header, and then it will be tunneled to the destination. Okay, so let's see. So you can see here that there is a payload with all the header paths. So now you are encrypting it and then sending it over a tunnel to the endpoint. Alright. Okay. So yes, everybody came up with this example. So this is VPN, okay, one of the use cases of such a protocol. Okay. So VPNs, anybody wants any information about that? Most of you know about it. Okay. So what VPNs do? Everybody uses it, right? Okay. So what do we get by using a VPN?
First of all, we can hide our IP address, and secondly, we can access the network which is restricted to us.
Okay.
Which is not allowed in our IP address. Can access to.
Okay. Okay. So that is that. Just give us something simple humans like us will use. Yeah. Something simple.
Can access from different locations.
Yes, please. Okay. So anybody has worked in IT industry or something? Yes. So work from home. How does that happen? With the help of this, right? So what do? So whatever communication you are trying to do with another entity over the internet, because internet is not private at all. Okay, so you are trying to create a virtually private network over the internet between the two entities. That's what VPN is. Okay. All right. Oh, the example was given only. Yeah. See. All right. Okay. So let's see. There are two particular protocols associated with IPsec. One is authentication header protocol and another is encapsulation security protocol. Okay. So we are going to look at ESP only. Okay. So H is basically, it provides source authentication and data integrity, but it does not focus that much into confidentiality, whereas ESP is more focused into all three of them. Okay, so we will look at ESP only. Okay. So one more term that we need to know is security associations. It is nothing but a logical connection between any two entities, okay, over the network layer. Okay. So before sending any data, you need to actually create an SA. Okay, so an SA needs to be established between the sending and the receiving entity. Okay. So what is required? So the receiving entitles will maintain the state information about the SAs. Okay. So what will be in that state information? So TCP endpoints will be required to maintain the state information. Now what's happening here? IP is connectionless, that's what we know, right? But when we are maintaining state information, then it is no more connectionless, it becomes connection oriented. So that is why IPsec becomes connection oriented in nature. Okay. All right. Let's see how it does this kind of encryption. So first let us see this green part here. Okay. So we have the original IP header and the original IP datagram payload. Okay. With that I am adding an ESP trailer. Okay, that has padding, pad length, next header. Okay. Now this I am adding and then putting over it an encryption. So that's a fully encrypted part that you have. Okay. In this part, I am putting an ESP header. What does it contain? It contains two things, an SPI, which is nothing but it just identifies the assay, okay, the assay which your datagram belongs to, okay, and then the sequence number, okay. So there should be a sequence number also associated in order to avoid any kind of replay attacks, okay. So these are the two things that are associated with the ESP. Now once this is created, then an authentication will be done, okay. How is it done? By encrypting it using a shared secret key, okay. So this is done. So ESP header and ESP authentication field that is there in the last in yellow. So these two are added, authentication is done overall, and then you add a new IP header which will contain the address of the tunnel endpoint, okay, the tunnel endpoint, so that it reaches to the required destination. So this is all the task that is done in the IPsec datagram. Yes?
What does that next header do as part of the ESP trailer? The next header that you.
Next header that you will be reading, right? Okay. Alright, so yes, there's some sound that is coming, no? Okay. I don't know whether there is a volume. I don't see here. Anyways. I think this is okay, right? It's okay. Alright, so let's see how does it work. Okay, so there are two routers here, R1 and R2. Okay, so what does R1 do? R1 will append the ESP trailer to the original datagram as it was shown. Okay, then it will encrypt the resultant using the corresponding algorithm and the key that is specified by the assay that was created. Okay, so you are actually creating a logical connection before you are setting up the connection between these two entities. Okay, now what you do, append the ESP header to the front of this encrypted quantity, create the authentication MAC as I was telling you, using the ESP, that yellow part that you have, ESP authorization, then append the MAC forming the payload, okay, and then create the new datagram, okay, with the destination of the endpoint, okay, tunnel endpoint. So this is when R1 wants to send something to R2, okay. Any questions up to here? All right. So let's see how a VPN may look like, okay. So why do I need a VPN? Because I want to access some particular server, okay, and I want to create a private channel over it, okay. So here, as you can see, so if there is a particular company where you are working, it is not that there is just one entity and you are just communicating with it, okay. There could be headquarters, there could be other offices in other cities, okay, any part of the world, and you can create a private network over it. Now if there are less number of them, then what will be there? For everything you have to create an assay anyways, okay. So let's see, if there are less number of such different entities, okay, the maintenance is less number of assays you are going to maintain. But if there are a large number of them, then it becomes difficult. You have to have a database for that, okay. So two different types of databases that we have here, security policy database and security association database, okay. What does the security policy database tell? It will basically tell you that, for this particular association what to do, okay. So that means what are the corresponding policies that should be used or that should be there for this particular assay, okay. And whereas what is for the security association database, it is like how to work with this, okay. So that is all the different steps that you are taking for continuing with this assay and the communication between the two entities, okay. So as you can see that when you are sending a datagram over this from one endpoint to another endpoint, the SAD or the Security Association database, that will basically tell you how to process the datagram. Okay. So these are the information that will be there in these two databases. Okay. Now let's see. If you have a lesser number of such databases, okay, then it is easy to maintain, manually, you can have manual establishment of IPsec essays in the endpoints, okay, because you have to have, information about all the essays that are being created. All right. Now, if there are too many of them, then this manual establishment of IPsec becomes an issue, right? So, what do we do? Okay. For that, we should use, IKE or Internet Key Exchange. So, in particular, we can use IPsec IKE, which is mentioned in RFC 5996. If you want some more information regarding this, you can just probably go and visit this RFC. Okay, just take a look at it. So, what does this IKE do? Okay, anyways, in the SAD, what we were doing, we were exchanging the informations, and we were trying to know that, how to maintain this communication. Okay, so the same thing is going to happen with the help of this IKE. Okay, what is it going to do? It will exchange certificates, it will negotiate the authentication algorithms and any encryption algorithm if it is being used, and in the end it will exchange the key materials, etc. Okay, for this communication, for creating the session keys and in this particular essay. Okay, so this is what your IKE is going to do. Okay, so essentially what is happening in an IPsec, you are creating essays. Okay, and if you have a large number of connections that you have to maintain, you can use IKEs to maintain these. Okay, and your database will always be there to give you the information about the different protocols that are required to be used for this. Okay, so this is our IPsec. Okay, now we have completed application security, transport layer security, and network layer. Very briefly, network layer security. So next part is operational security. So can anybody tell me what is operational security?
So improvement protocols, whatever steps the users take from their part. The operations basically, we try to secure those.
Okay. And anybody else? I have to secure my organization from certain threats. Okay. So how do I do that? Okay, these layer by layer I can have security protocols, but on the outside also I need to do something, right, away from all these layer by layer security. Okay, so that will fall under my operational security. Okay, any example of such kind of protocols?
Not writing down passwords.
Okay, that will come under, if you have seen yesterday's class, that is, educating the user. Okay, so that will be probably under that. Anything else? Authentication and authorizations. Anything else? Very widely used. OTPs. Okay, just I want to give you an example. Think from the point of view of an organization, okay, because I want to head to that topic. Okay, so think from the point of view of an organization and you want some, first level security for your organization. What car?
Cards.
Okay, okay.
Access levels.
Access control and first level security for organizations.
Use tools like firewall.
Firewall, yes. And anything else?
Missing packet filter.
Yes, it comes under that. Very good. Anything else? That comes under authentication, no? Yeah, that will come under authentication. Okay. Okay, so yeah, so let's start with firewalls then. Okay. So operational security, as you can see here, it is used to protect sensitive information of any entity that it may be an organization, maybe a particular person, for managing how data is processed and how daily operations are handled. Okay, so let's start with the first one, that is firewall. Okay, so what's a firewall? It is given in the slides, but if you have anything to add on to it. Nothing? What does firewall do? Filtering. And so basically it acts as a barrier kind of a thing. You are so if you have seen movies, old movies, with kingdoms and all that, so there was a huge wall right before you could enter into the kingdom with a huge gate. That's what firewall is. Okay, so what it does, it basically filters out the bad packets. Okay, now it's up to the programmer or whoever is creating this firewall to tell it that which are bad ones. Okay, so yeah, so what do? You have to get the good guys in and remove the bad guys out, or just stop the bad guys out. Okay. Okay. So why do we use firewalls? Okay. One is I want to secure my system. Okay. How can I secure from different attacks? So if there is somebody who's doing a DOS attack. Okay. So what can I do? I can just simply stop further packets from incoming. Okay. Then I can also prevent any kind of illegal modification of any kind of sensitive data. What else can I do? Any unauthorized access inside the network, that can also be prevented. Okay. Now there are three goals of firewall. Okay. First one, if you see here, okay, so any traffic that would come into your system has to pass through the firewall. First rule. Okay. Second rule, okay, only authorized traffic will enter. Okay. Now how will you define authorized traffic? Okay, that will be whatever security policy you are using, accordingly you will define what is authorized and what is unauthorized. Okay. And what's the third and most important thing? Your firewall should not be compromised. If that is compromised, then gone. Right. So these are the three most important goals for firewall. Okay. All right. Now let's get to this. So there are many evolutions of firewalls that go on. Three basic ones are stateless, stateful, and application gateway. Okay. And the last one I've added is a next generation firewall. Okay. Now what happens in a stateless firewall? Simply you check the packet source destination. It is given to you that if it comes from this particular source or if it wants to access this particular destination, you just block it or drop it. Okay. Stateful, okay, you track the entire connection, entire TCP connection if it is using TCP. Okay. And then see that whether there is something wrong there or not according to whatever security policy is being used, and then you block them accordingly. Okay. So you see all the fields. Now next comes the application gateway. Okay. Application gateway actually also looks into the application data. Okay. So apart from the different fields, header fields that you have, okay, you also look into the application data when it comes to application gateway, and then see that whether there is something wrong there or not. Okay. If you find something wrong in that case, you just block it. Okay. The last one is next generation firewall. Here you can add more features, intrusion prevention, application filtering, and some more level of deep inspection can also be added. Okay. So these are my different types of firewalls. Okay. Can anybody tell me if there are any limitations of firewalls? Or using a firewall gives you all types of security, the word blanket security I would say here. Any limitations?
False positives.
False positives. Can you give an example?
I want to access something that should be allowed, or something wants to access my network that is benign, but it is being blocked.
No, that is what you are defining false positive here. I'm just asking that if you have an example in mind.
Specifically, as of
Like
now.
sometimes to install antivirus, it says you have to disable that firewall first, then you should install the antivirus.
Okay. Updates. Okay. So suppose I do that, I disable the firewall for some time and then do it. So then different kinds of attacks might happen at that time. Okay. Anything else? Any other limitation? Okay, we'll see what are the limitations. Okay. So one of the problems is IP spoofing may be there. Okay. See, I may not be able to know that, the source that it is claiming, okay, whether it is actually from that source or not, I may not be able to know, because I cannot check up to that when I am using a firewall. Okay. So that can be there. Okay. If you are using application gateway, okay, in that case what will happen, for different applications that are there, special treatment has to be given for each one of them, because you are looking at the application data also in case of application gateway. Okay. Now what is the trade-off if you have to make a good firewall? What is the trade-off? The trade-off would be that the level of security that you want to provide from the outside world. Okay. Now because as I was telling that giving a good firewall does not always mean that you will be fully secured. Okay. So that is why there are evolutions of firewalls that are there, and if you want you can please take a look at it. Yesterday's class I think I had forgot to mention the references. Okay. So most of the references is from Kuros and Ross book. Okay. I will also give this reference in the end. Alright. So the next part is intrusion detection systems. What is intrusion detection system? I wouldn't ask. I would like to ask what is the difference you feel between firewall and intrusion detection systems. So you can always define from the name itself what is intrusion detection system, but can anybody tell me what is the difference between the two?
Firewall is like the door of the house. It allows some legit packets only to enter. Intrusion detection system is like a robbery alarming system.
Okay. How exactly you will say that the robbery alarm system will work in your case, because somebody is trying to enter and
they can break the door, like get past to the firewall, but there is alarm that is like used as intrusion detection system.
So firewall is trying to stop, is to prevent, and this, I mean, it has, the intrusion might have already happened. It is detecting after the fact. Or during
not always, actually, not really. Okay. Okay, anything else? Okay, so let's see, think about it. Okay, so intrusion detection system actually looks deep into the packet. Okay, looking at the packet contents. Okay, so you might ask me the question that application gateway also looks at application data. So then what is the difference between intrusion detection system and an application gateway? That's also a kind of firewall, right? So yeah, now the question again comes that then what is the difference between IDS and firewall? Okay. Anybody knows how does an IDS work? So in firewall, what do? We just mentioned that, if these are the characteristics that are there, so in that case you block the packets. Okay, we will see how IDS works now, and then you will be able to know what is the difference between firewall and an IDS. Okay, all right. So let's see how does an IDS work. Okay, so first let's so IDS also has another brother or sister of it, that is IPS, which is intrusion prevention system. Okay, now IDS will simply detect the suspicious activity and IPS will detect and block the suspicious activity. Okay, but both of them are more concentrated into how to detect that attack. Okay, so that is why sometimes it is used as a slash. Okay, that means interchangeably you are using it. Okay, mostly the focus is on how to detect if there is an intrusion. Okay, so how does an intrusion detection system work? I have not put it in the slide because I just wanted you to tell verbally. Okay, so there are two ways of intrusion detection. Okay, the first one I have written it here. Okay, because yeah, first one is signature based and the second one is anomaly based. Okay, so what happens in signature based? You know that there are certain types of security attacks that can happen. Okay, and you know what are the properties of them. Okay, so what do? You give a signature of these. Okay, and now what will happen if there is a stream of packets that is coming? It will be compared with all of these signatures to see that whether there is any similarity with any one of them or not. If at all you find something, you flag it. Okay, you send a signal that there might be a problem. Okay, that is signature based. Okay, now what is anomaly based? In anomaly based, what you do is you look at the traffic. Okay, you look at the traffic and then you find that if there are any kind of anomalies or not, and then you have again a list of these anomalies. When there is a stream of packets, you compare, you find anything problematic, you send a signal. Okay, so that's how. So these are the two categories. Okay, so question is that if I have a firewall, or if I have a simply the gateway router that I have for my organization and I put an IDS. Okay, so that will simply help me in just filtering out all the issues, packets with different issues, right? It can help me, but why, if you see here in this diagram, there are different IDSs at different places in the network. Okay, so why should I have multiple IDs rather than just one single IDS? I can have less cost.
Redundancy, localization of the issue also.
Redundancy will again increase my cost, in this case. So why should I have it?
So you can localize exactly where that issue is. Which
you are anyways comparing it with different anomalies, right? So in that case, the packet is destined to some place in your organization, so you know where it is destined to. Okay, so any other idea?
फिजिकल क्योंकि फर्स्ट जो हमारी स्लाइड देखते हैं फर्स्ट इज इन फ्रॉम द नेटवर्क वन इज फ्रॉम द सिस्टम एंड इफ समवन इज somehow attacks from the outside the network and send the different packets to the network, so it can be able to detect from them.
Okay, I'll just give a hint. Okay, just remember the different procedures in which you detect the anomalies. signature based and anomaly based. These are the two techniques, right? So can you think of something from that perspective?
Anomaly might occur in one part of the network but not in the other.
No, not exactly.
The ideas separate for IPC for different and POS and different ideas.
Okay, all right, but then where are you going with this answer? I just need to understand.
We will require separate ideas for maybe POS attack.
Okay, so you are saying that, okay, so you are near there, okay, then?
Separate for this attack specific type of
Okay, so you are sending, so I am giving another hint. So you are sending a stream of packets, okay, your IDS is right below, behind the firewall, okay, just one IDS. Okay, so you are getting a stream of packets from the internet. Now, any kind of attack could be there. You don't know what kind of attack could be there. So then what will happen? Think next step, what is going to happen? So packets will come. So what happens in, just think about signature based IDS. Okay, what happens in that? Every packet will come and I will compare with all the signatures. Okay, so if it is just one, that means all the packets, the entire load that is coming, everything has to be compared with everything that is there in your set of signatures. So then how much of work that goes on? Okay, so that is why you have IDSs at different places. You are balancing that load. Yes. Okay, simplest answer. Okay, then after that other things will come into picture. Okay.
But counterpoint to that, let's say the packets are going to the left part of the internal network.
Okay.
But the IDS at the, like if you have an IDS straight down.
Straight down.
The one that the DNS.
Okay.
That won't catch anything that is going on there. So, I mean,
I don't want, because that's a different network, no? See, the blue, that one, the internal network is different and the demilitarized zone, that is different.
Yeah, what is that? What is demilitarized?
That is no particular no particular security is there in that, inside this. Okay, this demilitarized zone. Okay, so that is different from the internal network. Okay, gives the answer. How much time? Oh, I have already increased the time. Okay, so one or two more slides I have. Okay, so next is the security policies and practices. Okay, what are those? Some set of rules that you should have or guidelines that you should have to ensure, how your system, data and network should be safely used. Okay, now what are the challenges for, using these security policies? That it is difficult to impose such things. Okay. People will, resist anything. Okay, so that is one thing. So first thing is, access control models. There are various types of access control models, that is how much access you are giving. First is MAC, that is mandatory access control. The admin will decide it. Okay. Next is the data owner will decide the permission, which is discretionary access control or DAC. Oh, sorry. And the last one is role based access control, okay, or RBAC, where permissions will be tied to the different roles. Okay, so these are the three access control models that we have. Okay, and in the end, this is the future, that we should come up with different security policies and procedures, and in-depth computing is necessary. Defense in depth. Okay, and last one is the zero trust architecture that I want to focus on. So what is this zero trust architecture? Okay, so this is basically based on the concept that you don't trust anybody. That means every step there is an authentication. Okay, whether every step you are checking that whether I am talking to this person is a trusted person or not. Okay, so there is no trust in this architecture. One way you can say that yes, it is very good because more and more security is there. What is the flaw of such a system? You have to continuously, every step you have to authenticate, authorize. Okay, so that may be difficult for systems which require low latency. Okay, so this is the future, and I will end my class with this. If you have any questions, please ask.
So the same question, do we need security at every layer or?
That is a homework question I told, right? Find out. Okay, what do you think after this class? What do you think?
Generally,
Depends on?
where are we using it? Like, what is the use of the system? Because
Okay.
I shouldn't give a military grade security to a child's laptop.
Yes.
So there is no need for every layer security on that. Rather than I should do or wherever it is needed.
Yes. Very good answer. And
Same.
same answer. Okay. Okay. So let's see tomorrow also once again. Okay. This is a good answer that I like.
But what do
Okay.
we do in real life? We do that whatever he said or?
That we will find out. Okay. That again depends on what is the system that you are providing the security for. Okay. It depends on that. See, user level security you have to provide. Okay. And then TCP, the transport layer security, if you are going over the medium, over internet, if you are going, you have to provide some kind of security. Then comes the network layer security. Okay, so then whether we should provide like this all layers or not, and then whether I should just give a blanket security, so that is a that's a question, open question.
When you say
Yeah.
blanket security, do you mean just like from one layer beyond or just to one, restricted to one layer itself?
No, beyond.
Okay, so let's say transport and up or network.
Network and up.
Network and up.
Yeah. Okay, so these are the references that has been followed. Okay, all right. So tomorrow we will have a tutorial. So if possible, please bring your laptops for my session.